We're asking the important sim questions.
Hard-hitting questions here.
With the new 2.8 DCS update,
Move with the clouds.
the cloud penis will actually move with the wind. We can use that to start the episode.
There it is. That's the beginning.
You might want to add a the cloud penis.
Yep. It's recording anyway. So.
All right. Okay, we're ready to get started?
Let's go.
Eastern group now turning cold, Angels 12. Bogey Dope Western group. 285 and 43 blocks. Okay, I go well south of the line, 14 miles.
Red 9 Slasher 02 copies, clear to engage. Danger close.
Clear the kill, clear the kill. He's abandoned down.
We receive not just light automatic.
Mindy, let's come hard left. Roger, just hit him. Deep hammer him. That's him right there.
All right, well, everybody, welcome to the Air Combat Sim Podcast. I'm your host, Casmo. Today we've got Baltic Dragon.
Hey, guys.
Tricker's here.
What's up, guys? Tricker's here.
And Rob's here. What's going on? All right, we've had a great time just getting ready to get started with today's episode. We'll try to recapture all that fun here, and we'll just do our little pre-flight checks and go around the horn. And I don't know, BD, we'll start with you. What have you been up to? I know last time we talked to you had computer issues. I'm assuming those have not been resolved.
Well, today is the small anniversary of 2 months without my computer now, which is still in repair.
Sorry to hear
and
that.
Nobody knows what's wrong. Yeah, I have a laptop, but I don't know, there should be some law saying that if it takes so long, they should give me a new one or something. I don't know. But it makes things difficult.
Yeah.
It's a lemon.
Yeah, by half, probably. No, apart from that...
So what you're saying is that like if you turn your car in to get repaired and it's going to take several days, they should give you a rental? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, something like that. Well, they should give me another PC. I even told them, look, guys, I'll just take this one back. I'll pay you another $1,000 and give me a better one. And you sell that one later on when it's fixed in 3 months, whatever. I said, nope, you have to wait. Okay.
Grief.
So I'm waiting patiently.
Is that because you're in Europe? Like, is it...
No, yeah, that's because I'm in Europe. I think in the US that would never happen. Can you imagine something like that? 2 months repair?
Well, I buy everything off Amazon, so I just send it back if it's broken.
Yeah, 2-day shipping, man.
Yeah. Amazon Prime. You guys don't have that? Come on.
Well, I brought it back to the place where I bought it, and then 2 weeks later they informed me they just sent it to check what's wrong with it. So they kept it for 2 weeks in the store without even touching it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the worst when you check on it every day. Like, is it shipped yet? Nope, still processing.
Yeah, well, but apart from that, I'm having fun with the F-15E that we're going to talk about today later on and hear the interview. And the F-16 with the gamblers. So working slowly on my laptop on things. Not as fast as I could, but all good.
All right. Trigger, what about you?
I've been flying the last couple of days, and I've been putting out a lot of new content. Got a lot of new tutorials out there. Been doing a lot of shorts as well, so just been working and putting out some content, trying to do better at putting out content for people.
Do you like doing the shorts?
What was the content you put out?
So I put out a lot of new start tutorials. So I put out like a MiG-21, F5, F-16 start tutorials. And I've been enjoying doing the shorts because like the shorts sometimes just take, like a little bit of time. So, if you have a busy day, you can just do like a little bit of content and then put it out there and people view it on their phone. the comments are pretty crazy, and I'm getting a lot of new viewers, which is nice. But then on most of my tutorials, like my start tutorials, people put like, hey, just stole this F5. You know, for instance, someone's like, hey, just stole an F5, got F22s on my 6. How do I arm the weapons? So people leave like all these funny comments. It's pretty funny to to read them, but that's all I've been doing.
The shorts are strange. It's funny, like I'll come across shorts from like a completely unknown content creator, but it'll have like 600,000 views.
Yeah.
So but I don't understand the algorithm of the shorts and how that necessarily happens, because I don't have that luck with mine.
I don't either, because like my F5 startup tutorial in 60 seconds now has like 150,000 views in 2 weeks.
Oh wow. Wow. Nice.
So
yeah,
that's all I've been doing.
Excellent. Rob, what about you?
As usual, I've generally been working on some hardware stuff. So I was one of the lucky few that got the WinWing MIP set, and essentially it's the F18 upfront controller and the HUDs, or the MIDs.
So on the last episode, you said it was for your kids, and you just said it was for
that
me
was something else
one.
for my kids. This is for me. This is for me.
Okay.
So
sorry, I'm trying to. I have a list here of everything that Rob
chair.
owns for him and his kids.
It's not pretty. No, it's when I'm in denial is for the kids. But no, I got those. It's actually fantastic. So I haven't got it completely set up, I'd say that what WinWing has done has added software to help configure the multiple displays, and it works pretty well. So far so good.
So does it actually have displays like there's actual screens?
Yep.
Oh wow. What's that run?
I think it's like $800-900, not 940 with tax, or with shipping.
I guess that makes sense though.
With three screens in the upfront controller, that's pretty decent. Actually, it's pretty good. And then the software makes it pretty much work seamlessly. So overall, I think if you're gonna have a SimPit, I think that is pretty fantastic. I think the other alternative that's been out there recently is the CubeSim screens, and the difference is the CubeSim screens are 3D printed, which isn't always the best quality, and then good luck in trying to get all of the screens to stay in the right configuration, especially after you reboot. So the software solution from the WinWing folks has been great.
How long did it take for you to get it when you ordered it?
I think it took like a week. So it wasn't bad, but the problem they have right now is that apparently COVID's spun up again and they've locked down. So, essentially if you want to get it, you can't even, I think you can order it. Maybe they've stopped taking orders. So it's on or it's off. So which is interesting. When I was exchanging in a text with a guy originally, he was telling me that, they were planning to release it in August, but they actually turned off the electricity to the manufacturing in his region. The mayor did. So it's like, wow. So definitely different things happen in terms of manufacturing in different parts of the world.
Didn't WinWing open a Tampa warehouse or something like that?
I think it was Virpil.
Or Virpil, okay.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused.
Virpil.
Yeah, WinWing is straight from China. And I guess that's the other challenge, that anytime you're looking at wanting to get something directly from China, you don't get the Amazon return policy there either. So it's always something to think about.
It's pretty easy to set up, though.
No, no. Actually, it all comes in like
Not at all. Thanks for asking.
no. It's a great question. Glad you asked. No, it actually
4 weekends.
no, it's funny because it's smart the way that they put it together. It's just do you want to buy one screen? Sure, here you go. And so when you get it, it's nicely packaged, but it takes 2 to 4 hours to, in fact, put the doggone thing together. And so then trying to figure out how to mount it, what to mount it to, and everything else.
Does it come with like IKEA instructions?
It should.
There's a little guy pointing.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing like that. It's just got the engineering diagram, and for knuckleheads like me, I'm like, okay, I put all the screws in the wrong, but they're upside down, so let's go start over.
Can you pay them more so they send someone to your house to build it for you?
I wish.
Like IKEA.
All the way from China.
Chinese guy comes in a box.
$800 for the MFDs, but $2,000 for the installation.
You have food, you have room and board.
But you get to keep the guy as well.
Who's this? Who's this guy? Don't ignore him, honey.
Maybe in Europe, but not here.
Yeah. We
It's
stopped doing that.
2022, BD. It's 2022, man.
The box is moving.
We don't do that here.
We need to have a disclaimer.
I cut.
The opinions of this podcast are them alone.
Do not necessarily represent the United States.
No. And to be clear, no individual for ship.
We need to run this by our lawyers first.
No indentured servitude with the Win-Wing. Understood.
It would be too expensive to ship them back.
It would be too expensive. Yeah.
Or
Try
her.
to do it same day. Or her. That's right. Could be. Could be a woman.
Well, what have you been doing, Casmo?
What have I been doing? Working. Yeah, I took some overtime, so I was gone a little bit longer in this last one, which was incredibly lucrative. So I'm not ashamed of doing the overtime. But as I was telling BD before we got started, the problem is I have a very short period of time before I go back on the next trip, and of course with all the honeydew lists and everything going on. So I have played probably one whole solid hour of DCS. And that was after the new update dropped, which I will say, and again, I'm a master dogfighter, and everyone knows this, but the AI definitely gave me a run for my money. It wasn't doing a lot of this sort of lazy, like, oh no, don't get me, like we're playing some sort of kinky game. Like he was really trying to get away and really trying to get on my six. So I found it incredibly aggressive to the point where I was like panting at the end. I was like, holy crap, like this was a workout. So I thought that was good. I know BD's had some different experiences from the campaign creation standpoint with the new update, which we were kind of joking about before, and we won't go down that rabbit hole too deeply. But Trigger brings up a good point, though. There are some budding campaign creators out there, and of course we have addressed this issue in the past. But when a big update like this hits, what are the second and third order effects for a campaign creator?
Well, don't know which one's which, but crash to desktops, which can happen quite often for people. I mean, it happened before this update. It didn't help. Some people, it's even worse. It's funny because in my end, I can't reproduce any of them, but lots of people can. And that's I would prefer to be able to reproduce something because then I can report it or fix it. And that way there's nothing I can do, but people get mad at ED or at me. Or us as campaign creators in general. And the other thing is quite often you get some, with the AI changes on one end, which is positive, sometimes there's change which is negative. So AI stops doing the most basic stuff, which breaks missions. And that's also, I get reports, and I think lots of other guys who I've been talking to, the third-party developers, had the same. I mean, we keep telling people that it's normal because this is how the DCS works in general. It's very, very complex stuff with lots of different things that are being changed all the time, and they all work one with another. But it can be frustrating sometimes. And if it's frustrating for the people playing, well, you can just imagine how frustrating it is when you are developing it and then have to find and go back and fix stuff that gets broken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have
I was thinking... Go ahead.
I was going to say, you have the Raven 1 campaign, and I know there's some weather... you have to land in Cat 3, or not Cat 3, but Case 3, sorry. Do you have to go through and redo anything with that because now the weather actually moves? Or the clouds move rather?
But it's not a dynamic system, so the clouds are everywhere. So they move from one place, but there's new clouds coming. It doesn't really change anything. But it's more of a crash to desktop stuff and lots of things changing like this. But in the end, I don't have time to go and check all the missions. It would be crazy. So I'm just waiting for people to report that to me. I try to fix what I can or report what I have to, and then wait for another patch. But I can understand people get annoyed. They pay for a campaign which they cannot play.
Right.
Sometimes.
Well, I know that you and Reflective talked about this in the past, when there's changes to things like the tax or the parking spots, that can completely break the campaign. But it seems like that's a fairly simple fix. It's just mundane. But I'd never really thought about it before. If there's a dramatic change in the AI behavior, how that could also possibly affect it, because now you've sort of formulated the things to happen with the AI doing a certain thing, but now he may zig instead of zag, and now it completely changes the whole dynamic of the mission.
Exactly. It sometimes completely breaks it, and then I get reports. I have to go back, fly, check what happens, then try to find a solution, or sometimes just report it back to the ED. So it's like a vicious circle that will go on forever with this, how it works. Maybe one thing that would be helpful if we had some different way of updating campaigns, so they're not updated through the open betas every month, but we could push the updates more often and people could just download them directly. That would help a lot. But I guess we discussed it. It's apparently difficult to do for some reason, technically.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think about it too. Like the more campaigns you create over time, the more headache you're creating for yourself, because this, like you said, will never end.
Especially if you're a one-man team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I just did an overhaul that is out in 2.8 with my old Mirage 2000 Red Flag campaign. So I was flying it from the beginning to the end. It took me probably a month. I found bugs in each and every mission, which weren't there before. So you have to go back and do it occasionally. But as I say, it's part of the whole thing.
That was actually one of my favorite campaigns of yours was the Mirage one. But I mean, it's been like 3 years since I did it. And the last mission that I did, I remember it vividly because I was flying, doing cap, and an F-15 friendly fired a 120, and it was supposed to go active on an enemy, and it actually went active on me. And so I got shot down in single player by a teammate from the AI, and I was like, I'm not doing this again. Because like you spend like an hour to an hour and a half just sitting there doing the mission, and then you get shot down by a friendly computer, and you're like.
Did you log off and like Baltic Dragon's stupid? His stuff is stupid. I don't like it.
I didn't say anything bad about Baltic Dragon, but I was like, just hate freaking game, like.
Yeah.
But I understand some people are mad with us, like people who create campaigns, and it's natural. I mean,
well, to your point, you did say about the crashed desktops, and I did have a couple crashed desktops, not in 2.8, but in previous campaigns. Not only. Not just your campaigns, but other campaigns that I did as well. And that was another frustrating thing was trying to do these campaigns, and then you have a crashed desktop, and then you got to restart the mission again. And you're like, man, I made all this headway, and now I got to, do all this crap again. So.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the DCS. we have to take it with all those beautiful things. And if you like playing DCS, you have to live with that.
But and Eagle Dynamics does provide you the next release before it actually goes out to other folks, right?
Yeah, I'm working on the closed open beta, which is all the updates go to it, and so I see lots of things earlier, but it's impossible to check all the missions. I don't go and play my old missions.
There's no new stuff. Way to go through or run some kind of testing script to go through everything and find
people.
But sometimes at the point though, there's so many updates in the closed beta thing that things change every day. So sometimes like it would be working today and then tomorrow it's not working. So I could see how that could be frustrating from a content creator. Well, not content. I mean, you are a content creator, but a campaign creator, third-party developer, I guess you'd say.
Well, fundamentally too, people are going to have different ways of flying the mission or doing something that, it may just be completely out of left field. Like you would have never tested it yourself. But then somebody decides to do something weird, and you discover a break that way too. Yeah,
but you cannot envisage all the things people will do. You tell them, look, you have to follow your flight plan because otherwise your missions will not work. And sometimes the bug reports are actually people making mistakes or playing it not in the way they're supposed to. But that's also part of the game. But coming back to it, like having this one script where you just test everything. Sometimes after an update, things in old missions don't work, but when you recreate exactly the same scenario in a vanilla mission, it works okay. So that's another level of difficulty.
Well, but I can certainly say that I know that in addition to myself, that a lot of folks out there appreciate all your hard work, and the campaigns are fantastic.
Thank you. No, it's fine. I got a bit upset today, but this happens, and I've been there many times before, and I'll be there many times in the future. But all in all, I have to admit that when we have good relations with ED when it comes to reporting lots of stuff, and they're very helpful people there like Ben or Big Nui who are really looking into matters and trying to push the fixes through the system as quickly as possible, which is good.
Well, they rely on you guys for that. I mean, that's from their mouths. I mean, Wags has told me that before. Like, they rely on guys like you to create that content because it helps further their product. So yeah, I'm sure that they are wanting to help you. It's not just too effing bad. So that's good.
Well, on a positive note, I mean, you did say you're working on the F-16 Gamblers campaign. Do you have anything new to share about that?
Well, we initially wanted to do a campaign that would only talk about Rain's experience there with the Gamblers. So it was end 2014 till end 2015. But then we were thinking about, because there were so many interesting things that happened later on, like the whole in 2018 the standoff with the Wagner group when I think they killed like 300 Russians in Syria. US did. So we decided we'll probably extend the scope of campaign and maybe do it like in 2 deployments where we also take care of, or that story where they destroyed 180 ISIS oil trucks at some point in one day. So we'll probably extend it so we make more missions that are memorable and known about from Syria and put them all in one campaign, which I think will be nice.
Looking forward to it.
So that Wagner group thing, that was my unit too. So I've seen the footage from that. I can help you with the with some.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh,
great!
The video is out of control. It's not for this platform, but it was out of control.
Exclusive.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Exclusive. Yeah, Apaches did a lot of work that night. I'll just say that there were jets there, yes, but the Apaches did work. So with the 2.8, obviously there's weather and rainbows. Trigger, I think you've probably flown it the most. What say you? How is the weather change?
So I did a 4-hour stream on Friday. Sorry, it came out on Friday. So I did a 4-hour stream, and 2.8 was great for me. I mean, I asked the question on my YouTube how people are enjoying 2.8, and there's a lot of positive, and then there's some negative with performance for VR users. But going back to the weather, I thought the weather effects were quite amazing. Like I put out a little short where I'm coming through the clouds, and the sun pops out, and you see like this bright sun, and when you're looking in the sun, it's like blinding. And now when you're like facing the sun with the HUD, and the sun's right behind the HUD, like it's so blinding you can't even read the HUD anymore. The lighting effects are freaking phenomenal. So I love the lighting effects. I love the sun effects. The rainbows look pretty cool. Pretty cool. The glories, against the clouds. I haven't tested the ice crystals yet, or not ice crystals, but the ice halos. But so far, like everything was great. I mean, it's just so awesome because I was on the Gray Flag server, which is a PvE PvP server, and it's so cool to be able to fly, in circles around an AO, and then it used to be where there was a cloud and it's always over the AO, and you're like, crap, like I got to do something to, I got to find a hole to get in there. But now you can just sit there and just wait a little bit of time, and the clouds will move on by, and you got a clear shot of whatever you're trying to do.
That's a good point, because I think that's something that maybe some people aren't acknowledging, or maybe just not thinking about it. And honestly, I didn't think about it till you just said it, because a lot of people have kind of crapped on, like, oh, weather updates, what about fixing this or that? The weather can matter, right? So moving of clouds, that's exactly right, because I think we've all been there. If you've ever done something where, you're orbiting the target, you're like, well, there's a freaking cloud right here. But now it's like, okay, I can reposition, but wait, this cloud moved. Now I got to reposition over here. So it adds a little bit of dynamicness to the battlefield. So I think that's interesting. It's not just cosmetic. I mean, rainbows, I don't care, but no, that's a good point. Yeah.
I was looking for the pot of gold, but Edie didn't put that in there.
Yeah.
Leprechaun neither.
What's that?
Did you check both ends?
No leprechauns either.
Yeah.
But I did see the Halloween sale video, and that was pretty creepy.
Oh, there's a video for that? I haven't even seen that.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, it's pretty creepy. But going back to the weather, the weather is phenomenal. I love it. The lighting effects are top notch. I didn't really see much of a decrease in performance on my computer, maybe just a couple of frames. But I'm a flat screen user. But other than that, I thought it went great. I had one crash the desktop, and that was because the server crashed. And supposedly there's like a bug out there right now with the AWACS where it's like bombarding people with AWACS calls now. So like your whole screen, like on the left side, will be like 50, call outs like blah 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 blah. Yeah, it's like holy crap! Did someone request a picture? That's like my pet peeve online. Like if you're flying online and someone requests a picture, and then like for like a whole minute, it's like bandit, blah, blah 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 blah, and it's like God, shut up. You just change the radio frequency.
So let me ask you a question. You say you didn't have any performance issues, but when you do, how do you manage your performance issues?
Usually with a blue pill.
I knew it was coming as soon as he asked.
I'm just kidding.
I was going to lose complete respect for you if you didn't respond with something about that.
You set me up with that one big time, Rob.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a pretty, badass computer, and it handles DCS pretty well. The only map it doesn't really handle well is Syria, and that's on multiplayer. So like on single player Syria, it works great. And then on multiplayer Syria, it's like I lose like half my frames. Single player I'll be like 120 frames a second, and then like multiplayer it's like 60 frames a second. And then sometimes if you get down real low.
How much RAM do you have?
I have 64 gigs of RAM.
And what's your card?
The 3080 Ti.
Yeah, I mean I've seen that too. People are talking about, especially the VR users, about loss of frames. But then I saw somebody post on Facebook saying they haven't had any problems. So it gets into a weird zone there where I think people's experiences are certainly going to vary, and they need to recognize that because some people just get very, very excited about, oh, this is completely broken, this game. Well, it's broken a game for you, but not for
right.
everybody.
I mean, the reality is that I installed Windows 11, and now apparently I have Teams fired up automatically. I didn't even know I had installed it. So so it just depends on the particular operating system and the other applications that you have installed might be in the background too. So all the
yeah.
Can you stop talking about the great computers you have, because I don't.
Sorry, buddy.
Sorry,
you
BD.
do have a great computer. You just don't have it there. It's being fixed.
Yes.
I mean,
2 weeks,
we're actually on
Somebody
video
has
We're actually on video right now, and BD's actually crying. He actually has a tear coming down his eye.
Yeah,
Or his cheek right
making
now.
me sad.
Tears of anger.
Sorry, BD.
Sorry, BD. We won't talk about computers anymore. All
You
right,
guys hear
so
about that
whether
4090? I think it's like $1,800.
So the weather is more than just cosmetic, though I will say, I think there's value in cosmetics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm and then when you hear, a seasoned Airbus pilot telling you that it looks good, he flies around the clouds all the time. And there's joy in that. I like coming in and, you're doing an approach and you bust out of the clouds and there's like Puerto Rico, in front of you and stuff. Like these thematic moments. Well, then now you can start having those in DCS. So I think there's value in that too.
So I agree with you. What I think needs to come next, though, is like icing, like real icing conditions.
Ooh, yeah.
So they really need to add. So it's great that we have this new awesome. Like I'm not trying to make this a negative.
Right.
So it's awesome we have this new, weather phenomenon. But I think we need icing, and the biggest thing I always wanted is like real world weather, like kind of like Microsoft Flight Sim has. So like a multiplayer server or a single player server, you join and you can be like, hey, I want live weather. And I think that would be more, immersive for me, because usually it's always like 12 o'clock noon, altimeter's 2992. You don't even touch the altimeter. Yeah. You don't care about the winds. Like that's super unrealistic. Like nobody cares about the winds in DCS. People just take off whatever runway they want, or taxiway.
Full burner,
depending
baby.
on what server you're on.
Full burner out of parking. Yeah.
So, just I think real world weather, icing. I think that stuff needs to come too.
That's true. Icing would be cool.
ATC.
The problem I have with wind is, and maybe I'm wrong because I haven't played with it in so long, but the winds don't vary. Like in real world, you could be flying into somewhere and it says, well, it's 15 gusting to 20. it's going to be in a range of wins. You put 15 in DCS, it's 15 like 100% of the time. So it's kind of like, what's the point? Like, I'll just take no wins.
It's a good point because like in real world, there's always updrafts, downdrafts. You know, the wind's changing. There's no variable wind. You're always inputting stuff. Like sometimes in DCS, I just feel like my hand's not doing anything. Like I'm just sitting there and just adjusting the throttle, and then like the wind's supposedly 15 meters, or I mean I don't know what I forgot what they use, but BD would know.
I think it's a bit different if you use the dynamic weather, but it's so difficult to set up, and it's I've even talked to a guy who is a weather guy in U.S. Air Force, and even he was not able to kind of take full grasp of how it's done in DCS, and he's a DCS player. So, but if you do it, then you have like you have rain there, you have thunderstorm there, but then clear sky somewhere else is nice.
Well, it's funny, like too, how the weather change. Like I have a little mission I just set up for myself just to practice with the Tomcat, and I'd had it set up in such a way where there was some clouds, and then I booted it up, and I guess it just changed everything in that weather setting, and suddenly I was like in a cloud facing off against the MiG-29, and like we punched out of the clouds. Now I'm in the rain, like it was completely, and everything was moving and stuff. So I think it's cool. I'm glad that they did some change with the weather, because we've come a long way in a short period of time when it comes to weather. Because I remember, I mean, it used to look like very vanilla for the longest time, for years and years and years. And then we had the new update, which was maybe a year ago, and then now this. So no, it's definitely steps in the right direction.
And then turbulence in clouds, I think that needs to come as well, because you can set turbulence in the mission editor, but it's like for the whole entire world,
right?
Like doesn't matter where you're
to the
at.
Wind.
So it's not
Yeah.
So I mean, like going through the clouds, like sometimes like some clouds are smooth, and then sometimes you're like, holy crap, why'd I fly in this cloud?
Yeah. Or you have clear air turbulence. There's not a cloud in sight, and you're bouncing around back there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the flight attendants were binging, shaky back here.
Well, in your case, it's because it's too cold or too warm. Adjust the temperature, Casmo.
Oh my God, I get that all the time.
I wanted a cool 69 degrees back here.
Roger that. All right. Well, moving on from weather.
There's a good list of things that ED can put on their roadmap in terms of weather that have just been listed.
Nah, focus on the engine cowling of the KE-50. All right, well, moving on from the update, because we also had the MB-339 module released, and I know, Rob, you had a chance to talk with the developers about that. We'll roll into that segment. Is there anything that you want to say prior to going into that?
No, I'd just say that the guys at IndiaFoxtEcho were fantastic, and while I didn't know a heck of a lot about that aircraft prior to the interview and did a bit of research, they were so passionate about it. It truly was a passion project that they wanted to do. And since it's been released, I went ahead and got it. And it's really it's very detailed. And I think these guys, without a doubt, will continue to make updates. And they really enjoyed putting it together.
Hey, everyone. Before we roll into this interview, just want to apologize. There was a screw up with recording software at the very beginning of the interview. So we just kind of missed some of the introductions. But welcome Giuseppe and Dino from IndiaFoxtEcho Visual Simulation.
Great, and I was a private pilot when I was much younger. So I can do 3D modeling, I can do texturing, I can do coding if needed. But of course, when you get to this point, you need to assemble a team which has specialized role for, so you need to have really good graphics guy, really good coding guys, and so my role is kind of fading out to management, I would say, of the team rather than actually working on DCS. So Duke, if you want to talk a little about your contribution to this module?
Yeah, for sure. Each member of the team has a different experience. There are those who had modeling experience on IL-2 Sturmovik 1946. There are those who had coding working experience, and those who have an aerospace engineering background like me.
Oh, wow.
And those who has experience in DCS for creation of private mods, or people who has experience in making high quality libraries. all these talents converged in the MB-339 project, which following a lot of study of the structure of the various modules, several reverse engineering of the system, and then the study of and after a deep study of the development tools available to the public, this allowed us to develop a skill in the creation of a standalone aircraft that not required any Flying Eclipse license. So from this, we had the MB-339 free mod, which was a very appreciated mod in for the community.
Yeah, that's great.
Sure.
And so when you look at across the board, it sounds like you have a very diverse team with a very diverse skill set.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have, in general, so one of the difficulties there are with DCS development is, like other simulators, you don't have basically any, I would say, default system simulations rather than very, very simple things. So you kind of need to build code for each instrument and for each function of the aircraft, basically from scratch. Yes, there is an SDK. Yes, Eagle Dynamics provides support, but it's a very, very different beast than many other simulators. And the team generally speaking, is split between the art department and the coding department. Whereas Duke, for example, is kind of a special beast because he's our flight dynamics guy, and so it doesn't really fit in one of these two categories. It's more akin to the coding, but his specialty is the flight dynamics. The biggest difference, I think, with many other platforms is that if you want to do a good job, you need actually a team and a structure. It's not a platform that can be approached easily as an hobbyist, frankly.
Yep, understood. So what inspired you guys to pick the MB-339?
Well, the short answer is that we're all Italians.
Yep.
The MB-339 is, I would say, by far the most popular aircraft in our country.
Yep.
By a long mile, because it's the plane of the Frecce Tricolori.
Yep.
And even if you talk to some of your friends that have no aeronautical knowledge whatsoever, that they know that the Aermacchi MB-339 is the airplane of the Frecce Tricolori. So the biggest reason is the kind of plane we really love.
Yep.
And it has been with Frecce Tricolori for almost 40 years now. So most of us grew with the Frecce Tricolori MB-339 in our mind and in our hearts. So I don't know, Duke, if you have a different reason why you want to do the 339 really.
No, it's the same reason. It's a common feeling. The MB-339 is also for us is the aircraft, because yes, it's the aircraft of the Frecce Tricolori. It's the aircraft who is able to perform several maneuvers like the Lomchovak. The Lomchovak, it is the only jet aircraft in the world able to perform this particular maneuver.
Yep.
And also it's a very good trainer. All Italian pilots and all obviously military pilots, and all of them have a particular love for it. So for us, it has been a mandatory choice.
Yeah.
No,
I would say also
Then,
that.
sorry, Dino.
Sorry.
Then we have to say also that the project started in cooperation with an Italian flying group, which is the Frecce Tricolori Virtuali.
Absolutely.
Because without them, the DCS MB-339 doesn't exist. So the project started from this team simply because they were passing through from IL-2 Sturmovik 1946 to a new platform. This new platform was DCS World, and in DCS World there wasn't any MB-339, so the group decided to make from scratch this aircraft.
well, so
It's okay.
No, it's great. I mean, I absolutely can understand. It's got the aircraft has a rich history, and I can certainly see why you guys would have selected that as the one that you were going to work on. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I understood from a bit of research that in fact it was one of the candidates as a trainer for the United States military as well at some point. So pretty neat. What are some of the challenges that you guys encountered as you got into development?
Oh, okay. The main challenge for this aircraft is making a multi-crew, because the MB-339 it's different than an aircraft like, for example, the F-14. The F-14 has a pilot and has a RIO who is an operator inside. A trainer is designed to have flight controls on both cockpits. So you have to write essentially it's like developing two aircraft at the same time, because you have to write a code taking in consideration that both cockpits have the same instrument, same interfaces like the CDU or the communication console, radio navigation, etc., and both cockpits have to interact without troubles. After this, and after you are sure that everything works as expected, you have to write a network system for in order to allow two remote players to fly the same aircraft at the same time. It's a big task, and I don't know if I'm able to explain the difficulty we have met to do this, but Dino can can confirm the panic we had at at a certain point, but we did it, so it's important. So
it's also what Duke was mentioning is that I would say sort of a high level technical difficulty in creating the multi-crew system and make it work correctly. But in creating a plane like this, there are also a lot of other difficulties which are related, just stupid things sometimes. But if you just think that everything you have to do has to be done twice and work independently, it's a lot of work, because you may discover that you have a bug in an animation of a needle in your instrument or in the front cockpit, and maybe next time you build a plane, you realize you haven't fixed that on the rear cockpit. So there is a lot more work than a single seater. But we really felt it was worth spending time in achieving a good multiplayer functionality, just because we think it's essential for a trainer, and we hope it will be appreciated.
I think it will, and I can only imagine the amount of difficulties. So, what do you hope this module is going to add to DCS? How do you see in this? What do you hope that the players will do with it?
Okay, I'll tell you my hope for this module. What I really think it can bring to the sim. Then Duke, I don't know if you have different perspective, but the intent for us was to create, frankly, the most realistic rendition of the MB-339 we could deliver. Basically, I would say almost as a labor of love. We think it's a study level simulation. We're very, very proud on the level of detail in which many, I would say almost all of the systems are simulated, including failures, including down to individual circuit breakers are simulated. Frankly, it is a tool that if military flight school had that like 20 years ago, it would be on par with the best professional simulators that were around at the time. And I don't want to I don't want to brag about that. I do it just because I've not been involved in the first hand with the development. Yeah. So I'm praising the team for what they did on this. But what this simulator really brings to DCS, and I would say to any other recreational flight simulator platform at the moment, is an extremely detailed rendition of the military jet trainer. That's what we wanted to achieve. But again, more as a labor of love to the MB-339 than anything else.
Yes, and if I can add something, among its features, the MB-339 will allow the simmer to program its own data cartridge through a simple TXT file, so no need to have any coding skill. This is a particular feature for which we are proud. Furthermore, the simmer will experience also the ice effects, which degrade the overall aircraft performance. So it will have to manage also this aspect, turning on the anti-ice and making particular attention, because I don't know, maybe you can stall the engine.
Maybe you want, sorry, Duke, maybe you want to talk a little about the possibility of stalling the aircraft in a wet takeoff, which it was a very, very, very funny thing, story we had to talk.
Yes, we had our internal testers that reported us a critical bug while takeoff, and okay, which is the bug? No, when you reach 15 knots, the aircraft have a flame out. In which condition? Wind, yes, okay. And night, okay. Maybe you have a wet runway. Yes, the weather is raining. Okay, read the manual, please. you have to push the right button because you have the engine stall.
Yeah, the MB-339 has a relatively low air intake. So that's a possibility in the real aircraft. It's a possibility in the flight manual, and we went down to this level of detail. So
That's
Yes,
fantastic.
yes. Engine start due to water ingestion. It's a cool feature. Until you have the nose wheel down on the runway, you have the engine stall if you don't push the engine relight button. It's cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And also talking again regarding the feature, we have also the simmer also in this aircraft will be able to use a modern navigation system because the aircraft has a modern CDU, and for the multiplayer we will have with MB-339 the full support of DCS Simple Radio Standalone from the day one, and for sure the full synchronization of the multi-crew. I think, honestly, for community, the MB-339 is not cool as a modern fighter. We know this. But I think it's an excellent aircraft for those who want to approach to DCS world and who are looking for procedural flight, or why not? Also doing aerobatics, because we wanted to also to test it. For to reproduce all the aerobatic capability of the aircraft. And we have to say also that the MB-339 was developed with the support of real pilots. If we have also a good review inside the manual signed by a former Frecce Tricolori pilot with a strong experience also as a test pilot. And several pilots provided us several feedback testing the aircraft with the actual flight manual, performance manual, and they approved all the flight envelope, which is, according them, is very, very close to the real aircraft. So also for this, we are very, very proud of the result we reached.
That's terrific. I think it, the more I looked into it, and to be honest, I wasn't as familiar with it. I was familiar, but not as familiar as I started researching it. And when I started looking into it, I began to look and say, it looks like there can be a great opportunity for the folks that are that have the South America map. So to your point, training South America, Argentina, and if there, I can see that there'll probably be a new acrobatic team that will focus on this aircraft as well.
Yeah,
you can certainly see it.
Absolutely.
So once you're coming up on release pretty soon. I won't hold you to a date, but once you've got that out there, I know it's always a continuous process to keep working on the product. But do you guys have any other aircraft that you're looking at, or is it just still sticking with this one for the time being?
Yeah, so in terms of the MB-339. There is some work to be done, yes.
Yes.
Specifically, the flight director it's basically the only, I would say, the only major system that will not be available at launch. Duke, correct me if I'm wrong, but
yes,
I think
yes, correct.
Yeah, it's not that we want to to be lazy about that. I really hope that once people will fly the MB-339, they will see they will have the chance to appreciate the amount of work we did on that. But at a certain point, we said, okay, we need to start. We need to set the release date. The flight director did not fit into the schedule, and but it's coming, of course. We're already working on it. As for the release date, we're waiting for Eagle Dynamics to confirm, but it's going to be really, really soon. We have already announced the G91, the Fiat G91, which is a light attack aircraft from late 50s, Cold War era, extremely popular in Europe. It has been adopted by Italian, German, and Portuguese air forces in very large numbers. It was produced in significantly large numbers, and it was also evaluated by the U.S. Army, at a certain point. The idea at the time being to create, that one of the ideas, one of the philosophies in that area was, can we create extremely cheap, I would say, inexpensive aircraft to be produced in very large volumes, and the Fiat G91 won the NATO contest in mid 50s to create this kind of capability within the NATO nations.
Extremely cheap, like a Fiat car.
Yeah, because cheap in English is I would say inexpensive.
Yeah,
because actually operationally was I would say quite successful. It's also another aircraft that has been flown by the Frecce Tricolori, actually. And that is the only other project we can speak of at the moment.
Okay.
We are discussing potential other projects with Eagle Dynamics. As some people know that we are very active on the flight simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator platform, in which, by the nature of the platform, we can produce many more aircraft. The development time is significantly shorter. So from time to time, we get requests on, are you bringing that particular model to DCS? Are you bringing the M346, for example, to DCS? We can say, of course, that we are evaluating a number of other aircrafts, and we are in the discussion with the DCS, with the Eagle Dynamics, to bring at least another aircraft to DCS after the G91. But the next project is going to be the G91.
Got it. No, and I can only imagine, since these are generally multi-year decisions, that those are big decisions to make. So.
Yep. Definitely. Truth to be told, we don't know. We don't know what's going to be the financial success of the MB-339, and I would dare to say that to some extent we don't care, meaning that our primary target was to create extremely faithful simulation of the MB-339 aircraft, and because we wanted to. It's true, though, that development for DCS is very, very time consuming, and you need to have some sort of financial results out of your efforts, because otherwise it's simply impossible to create this level of simulation.
Yeah, so. No, absolutely. And I would just say that, I'd like to have you guys back on after it gets released for us to talk about it a bit more. And I'll be one of the ones that gets out there and crashes a bunch. But I'd like to have you guys back on to talk about, we'll come up with some questions and kind of walk through it. But what I find is absolutely when you have, I get excited when I hear the passion behind the development team, because I'm in the software business myself, so I understand some of the challenges and difficulties of on any given day. So I can appreciate that. But yeah, let's definitely get together once it gets released again, and put together another episode for that, because I'd really be interested once that happens to get you guys on with me and Tricker and Casmo.
Sure. We will love doing that. I can only say that we have a number of different channels to communicate inside the team.
Yep.
So there's a larger team, and there are a smaller team dedicated to individual projects. And sometime, if we could share the level of I would say geekery, if that's English, aviation geekery that's in those chats. It's frankly amazing. It's there are people that are obsessed to very small detail of each project we are working on, and it is fun. It is fun.
Yep.
Sometimes even ourselves we wonder if some of the things that we put into our planes, I don't know how many people will actually be able to see them and appreciate them. But what I say is that we make very peculiar toys for people that appreciate the level of intricacy we're putting into our projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me ask you. So we've gone through a lot of the topics that we had discussed previously. Is there anything that we haven't covered at this point that you guys would like to talk about?
I think we've covered a lot of stuff. There are some technical details maybe that are too much for the general public, but no, I think we covered most of the points. I don't know, Duke, if there's anything else you want to bring to the conversation.
No.
Well,
I just want to stress once again that we got a lot of requests. Whatever we do, whatever platform we work on, Microsoft Flight Simulator, DCS, where we did some work on also on X-Plane. We did some work on other simulators. More often than not, we get a request on, you got a particular model in one platform. Can you bring it to another one? Can you? We want to see that aircraft. We want to see the other model. Development in DCS, it's a very long process. It takes years. So rest assured, we want to make sure that everybody. We want to tell everybody we will try our best to deliver high quality products. This also creates some restrictions to the aircraft we can do. We want to do projects that we can handle, actually. We don't want to make promises that we will not be able to fulfill. So we're trying to stick to models and aircraft that we can deliver to a very good level of accuracy and realism. So we will not see from us aircraft which are not well documented, well understood and known, and things that it will take us 10 years to make. That's going to be a no-go. We want to deliver good products, even if maybe they're simpler planes with respect to some fan favorites. We want to do good stuff.
Yeah, no, and I think as you guys have talked about the quality and the detail level of work that you guys are putting into it, without a doubt, I think that it just takes the time that it takes to make it and make it right. So it's exciting. I can't wait to see it. And like I said, when it comes out, I want to come back, and once we have it in our hands, be able to say, tell us about your favorite thing so we can talk through it. Because I'm excited to hear about the cartridge and how that works as well. So I think that'll be really neat. So thank you, gentlemen, again for being on with us today, and looking forward to having you guys back.
Absolutely. Well, it'll be our pleasure. Thanks for having us, and thanks a lot for your time too.
Thank you. Bye.
So in your opinion, do you think it's worth $59.99?
I haven't flown it enough to say that,
Not
but
to put you on the spot. I was just
you
just
put me on the
curious.
spot. Yeah.
The revenge for the blue pill.
Because I don't. For me, I don't know about you. All you other folks out there, but I don't buy the trainers. I don't really find the enjoyment in it, but I can see where there would be enjoyment in the trainers. So I was just curious if $59.99 would be sufficient.
No, I'll put it differently. It's like my perspective is differently because I have a software company. Is that I believe in supporting those people that make the product, and so that's honestly, after talking to them and hearing their passion, that's one of the reasons why I went ahead and purchased it, is to support them.
Yeah, well, congrats to them. That's their first product, so hopefully they put out something else.
Yeah, well, they do a lot of stuff on the Microsoft side, and so I think it. But it was interesting. They were saying that it takes, it's actually quicker to develop on the Microsoft side, and in years on the Eagle Dynamics or the DCS side. And then a lot of it has to do with complexity. But that was an interesting point that they were bringing forward. But anyways, will I get $59 out of playing it? I probably not. But and that's nothing to do with them. As it has to do with me and the lack of time I have, anyways. But I would say
the lack of time. But you have WinWing $800 MFDs, a computer chair that moves.
He's a collector.
Bose surround sound system. A movie theater.
hey, but the thing I would say is that I think we can go into more of the hardware nonsense that I've had, and there's no doubt about that. But as Jabbers said, it's a problem, and it doesn't end. But I would say that for these guys, it was really cool to hear them talk about it and the passion that they had, and why they went and they selected it. So I thought it was really cool.
One thing I did want to go back and sort of that was where I lost my train of thought, because you brought it up, Tricker, and I thought it was worth talking about. So we're talking about the what is it? MB-339? I keep screwing that up.
Correct.
MB. All right, so with the MB-339, a trainer, and Trigger, you just said that you don't like training aircraft. I kind of agree, and I think that's an interesting sort of dynamic within the community itself, because there's some people that swear by them. They think it's a great thing, and I get it from where they're coming from, because a lot of times they're like part of a group and they have like a set like training regimen, and they have like instructors and all this stuff, and of course absolute value in being able to be in the same cockpit with somebody and do that stuff. I personally, that's right, I don't necessarily do that. Obviously with the Apache you can, because it's easy, but I don't it's like, why would I train in this when really I'm trying to fly that? Like I always tell people, like if aircraft didn't cost anything, like you'd go to flight school and learn how to fly the Apache day one, because like why would I waste my time teaching you this other helicopter? But of course money is a real thing. So that's an interesting point, Rob. I mean, you don't get to play that much, but you're not a big trainer guy yourself. Aircraft.
No. If to your point, if I have the time and I'm able to jump into it, it's probably, F-18 is my go-to, but I also want to jump into the F-16. And it was one of the things that when Trigger was like saying about his 5-minute startup on the F-16, I thought was great, because if you don't use it, you lose it. And and so for me, watch it. Okay, 5 minutes, and I can see that in 60 seconds, and it brings it back. Okay, here's how I go and do this. So, but I don't spend a ton of time on the trainers or some of the other ones. Even to this point. No offense to the Apache, but man, that's just going to be a lot of time to learn that. And I'm just trying to. If I've only got 2 hours to do X, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think trainers are bad. I don't want to.
No.
I didn't want to say like they're bad. I think they have their value.
Yeah.
And I see why people do it, especially like these virtual fighter squadrons. Because I mean, like the mod that what is it? The T-45. People fly that thing like crazy for those virtual naval squadrons before they get into the F-18. So they have their purpose, and it's just not something that I want to spend my time on. But other people will.
I wonder if it's an experience issue. Like I'd be interested to know, like, because I could see the value. Like if you're new to DCS or you're new to flight simulators at all, like how much more value you'd get to flying with someone like Tricker. Or someone who's got a lot of experience, and now they're in the same cockpit with you. Because like I did the T-45 with a real Hornet pilot, and that was cool. Like I already know how to fly, but it was cool because he could really show me stuff. He flew the T-45 many times. So yeah, I don't know. It's for me, it's not something I want, but I don't know that I need the training.
So I think the trainers are a great idea, and I think what we're missing though, like this is just an idea. Let's just say like Casmo, you're flying the F-18, single-seater F-18, and I could be an instructor, and I can actually see your screen. I mean, you can do it on Discord, but I mean, like, how about something inside of DCS where I can do engine failures, I can change the weather, I can change the time.
kind of like a sim instructor.
Like a sim instructor thing. And then it provides like graphs, your altitudes, all
that's a good
eye charts and 3D models, all that crap. And then you can see exactly what you need to improve on, and I can be there live watching you inside of DCS. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Like an integrated TAC view type.
So scenario. DCS World, I want royalties for that idea, because I think that would be a good idea, especially not just for like like us simmers, but like for like if they're trying to get out to like different countries, or like the Air Force or what have you, if they're using like the A10 VR, and then they can have like a sim instructor.
No, that's
in
true.
The background.
You're 100% right, because any simulator I've been in from a training standpoint has had that, and exactly for the back brief. So no, that'd be cool. I mean, I know we're getting into the wish list type conversation, but I think that's.
And then there's going to be a whiteboard with a marker, and you can draw on the whiteboard in DCS, and then you can smell the marker afterwards. I'm just joking.
Well, this one smells like cherries.
And just a final note on the MB-339. I think, like I said, just because I'm not a trainer guy, and I think it all depends on, to your point, is it worth the money? For some people, absolutely. And so, as much as they're us kind of going, well, we don't really do trainers, there's going to be a ton of folks out there that do it.
Oh yeah,
and
they wouldn't have built it if they weren't.
I did see a screenshot though of the 339 having a blacked out cockpit in the back for like IFR training.
Oh really?
So
that's cool.
I'm not sure. I saw a screenshot. I'm sure that is something, but that's pretty cool if you want to do like IFR training.
That would be cool. That would be very cool. They need to do that with the Apache too. Do the bag, which I think they are. I think there's a plan to do that.
Cool.
No, I think did the 339, Rob? Maybe it was covered in the interview, but was it ever used tactically, or was it purely a trainer?
It was primarily a trainer, and then it's also for aerobatic teams. But it did have a limited tactical aviation with.
I think it had a limited close air support role. I think it had like rockets and small bombs.
Yep, and then it also was considered for the U.S. military at some point as a trainer as well. But from a tactical perspective,
as a drone to shoot down.
We want 500 of them. What?
I'm joking, everybody. I'm joking.
All right. So then, with everything else that came out, there's a huge laundry list of on the change log. Is there anything that jumped out at you guys, change log wise, that's worth? I know Tricker, you're a big Viper guy. Is there anything new in the Viper that's a good thing?
They came out with the non-cooperative targeting recognition. Nectar, I believe it's called. Forgot the
what is that
exact term, but basically you lock somebody up in single target track, and if you're within so many miles of the aircraft, it'll actually identify it on the FCR. It'll say like, "Hey, this is a MiG-29."
Really?
And it varies it off of like the engine blades, but it has to be within a 30-degree azimuth.
Okay.
For some reason,
that's cool.
It's non-cooperative targeting. I'm pretty sure it's like recognition. I don't know why it's escaping my memory right now, but they did a bunch of fixes for the F-16, but nothing too exciting for the F-16. I know the F-14 had a huge laundry list of stuff, and they got the pilot models in there now, and they look pretty good.
Do you guys normally have the pilots in there when you're doing it?
1,000% no.
Okay,
I hate it.
So I'm kind of conflicted on it a little bit, because like I like how they look, but then they're always in the way of the switches though.
Absolutely.
But I mean, if you're in VR, I can see where it would add that immersion level.
In VR, absolutely yes. Outside of VR, no. For me.
So I guess it's a yes and no.
You're
hot and you're cold when you're yes and you're no.
Be with a friend. You don't want to feel alone.
Yeah, I don't like it because it reminds me of how fat I am. Because I look down, I'm like, man, I'm so slim in the cockpit. But no, I don't even think
you would fit in the F-16, would you?
I wouldn't. I 100% would not. I'm sure.
Your helmet would hit the cockpit or the glass.
I think it would. So a long time ago, I had actually talked to the Air Force about switching over from the Army, and I basically was told that like I was too tall to fly most things anyway.
You didn't want the call sign too tall from like
it was
we were soldiers too tall, sir.
That's right. I was looking through. There's quite a few F-14 ones. I didn't even look at them yet. I was looking at the Apache, what was updated in there, some things. I know, of course, everyone's waiting on better SAS and all this stuff. I don't know. I have a hard time.
In your opinion, what is like the best thing for the Apache? Like, what are you waiting for the Apache to like give it that that wow factor? Even though it's already a wow factor, but I mean like to give it to the next level, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's really good so far. I think what I'm waiting for, and I know some of my other like real Apache guys think this too, like the FCR, even though the FCR in real life is kind of hot garbage. I think what people don't understand about radar, military radar, and really military equipment in general is it's not perfect, right? It's by any stretch of the imagination. But people think that this stuff is perfect, and it isn't. FCR will give you a lot of bad information. But with all that being said, because of the type of fight that we were in for the past 20 plus years, we never really got to use the FCR. In fact, most units didn't even deploy with them, or if they did, they were just stuck them in boxes. Like it's a couple extra, I think 500 pounds for the FCR on an Apache. So that's 5 Hellfires. So we didn't carry them, and we certainly didn't really train with them to use them. So I think there's a lot of us that kind of looked at like the old school Desert Storm type scenario. We're like, man, we just want to go out with like one bird's got the FCR and he's doing the scanning and he's squirting the information to all the other wingmen, and we're all lobbing these Hellfires and stuff. So I do kind of look forward to that when we can kind of have those kind of scenarios, because right now it's just old school, like, hey, there's a target at this grid and you're trying to pass off and stuff.
Is that a tactical term, squirting?
Oh yeah, we use squirt a lot for a lot of different things, and
Here we go.
And it's a true statement. Also,
Stand
I think the laser spot tracker.
I'm squirting you some image.
I'm a squirt.
Cowboy 2-2,
Oh, we got
squirting you some
squirters.
information. Stand by.
Well, the best is you have people you call squirters.
Ooh. All right. Please.
Have you not heard this one?
No, I haven't. Please,
on the
elaborate.
objective, if you're on the objective, let's say we're doing an air assault and your Blackhawks are coming in to drop dudes off with beards that are going to attack this house and try to snatch somebody up. If you have anybody leave that house and run away, they're called squirters.
Interesting. New tactical term.
That's it. You heard it here first, folks. So you can use squirters in appropriate language. But yeah, so I think FCR and I think a laser. I don't think it's out yet. I didn't even see that in the changelog. But laser spot tracker, that's also going to be huge, because that was a big awesome. Like when I was a Kiowa guy, like we didn't have that. We would have loved to have had a laser spot tracker. And then when you go to the Apache, you're like, oh, this is so much easier. So much easier for your wingman to squirt the laser. That's also, you can say that. Squirt the laser at something and be able to get that return real quick.
That's a good bit right
those
there.
Those are things I look forward to. But I think a lot of people look forward to the flight model being adjusted. Again, this goes back to this endless quest of what is a proper flight model. And I will just continue to beat this drum that at the end of the day, none of it's going to feel right, because it's not a real helicopter. It's not going to feel right. It may feel better to what you think it should feel like. I fly it just fine. I can go a month without flying it, turn it on. It's had some sort of change. I can still hover around, no problem. So that tells me that it's not that broken. I hear people say, well, it rolls if you do this. Well, then don't do that. Like, I don't know how I can fly it for 4 hours straight and not have really a problem, but you keep running into trees. It sounds like it might be a you problem. I don't know. But that's just the nature of the beast.
I agree.
Yeah.
In 2.8, I like the new thing that not many people noticed is the F10 map, where it shows you now both true and magnetic heading if you use the ruler from one point to another, which is useful.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I was actually gonna make a video on that later today. There's a lot of new useful tools in the F10 map.
Really? Okay.
One of the things I really enjoy, from camera work, from doing content stuff, is they added like easing when you zoom in and zoom out with the change FOV keys. It used to be like you zoom in with the FOV key and it would like snap and stop suddenly and it would look awful, but now they added like some easing, so like it kind of like zooms in and then gradually stops, so it looks a lot better.
Very cool.
Also, the rain effects are pretty sweet. We didn't talk about that either. They had rain effects before, but they improved them.
Oh, cool.
And I think they're in VR now.
Cool. Well, I guess the last thing that I did want to talk about was the World War II map. World War II map gate, I guess we'll call it, because there's been some consternation over this. So originally we had, and I always get these two confused, we had the Normandy map and the Channel map, or maybe it was the Channel map then the Normandy map. I don't remember which one.
Yeah, it was Normandy, then Channel.
And I don't remember which one people prefer, because one is like better than the other in some respects. But now what we're getting is one map to rule them all. They're all going to have the same information, but if you already own the first two, I think you pay like $10. If you own one of them, you pay like $20, something like that. Mm-hmm. So is it just gonna like suck in all those maps and you can delete them, or like does anybody have any idea how that's gonna work?
They put out an FAQ on it, but I'm not certain about that at all.
Yeah.
I just know from the point of view of the campaign makers, and I didn't do any World War II ones, but for those who did, there's a problem because now they have to update all the campaigns because some of the airfield data doesn't match up. And there's a question whether you do it and you charge money for it because they charge money for it as well, or not, or you do it just for free because they decided to update the map. It's a bit of a
I didn't think
problem.
about that.
You just continue to convince me why I do not want to get in the business of campaign creation. It's just a constant headache.
Updated map?
No, that's a good point.
Well, you need to make a new whole campaign for us.
Yeah, just start over from scratch. You can still use all your vocal input, and that's it. I mean, I think it's good because, and I don't do a lot of World War II. I'd like to do more World War II in DCS, but it is always a struggle. Like, well, which map do I use? Because if I'm trying to play with friends, I don't know which maps they have, and then it's like I always forget which one's the one that people prefer. So I would rather just shop in one store and just have, okay, this is the map. And plus it is adding a lot more space from what I understand. Like it goes all the way down to like Paris or something and expands. So it's a bigger, the sum is greater than its parts, essentially, if you put the two maps together. And I've seen some people complaining about, oh, it's $10 extra. Yeah, but you're getting more stuff. Like, I'm willing to pay $10 for A, more stuff, and B, convenience. Because, again, I don't have to decide which map to use. It's one map. So I just think that's one of these things much to do about nothing. And I personally get tired of it. But, it is what it is.
I mean, speaking of World War II, I've been having a heck of a time in IL-2. It's been a blast. I know we don't really talk. I know we don't really talk about IL-2 that much on this podcast, but it is an Airstream podcast.
We did. I would absolutely 100%.
I actually did buy the Flying Circus, and it was pretty cool. I'll give it that.
It's just pure. Like you don't have to study. You just jump in and fly an airplane.
You just go
shoot stuff. Yeah.
Those things. I was spinning out of control a lot though.
Yeah, the camel. So, were you flying the camel?
It was the camel. Yeah.
Do the blip switch.
Okay.
So in the real
I
camel,
haven't flown anything else besides the camel.
So, and it took me forever to learn this, but so in the camel, it has an engine blip switch, which basically just cuts the engine off momentarily. Okay. And so if you ever watch, like, there's people that actually still have camels, they fly them around, you'll hear it like, neep, 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 because they're constantly hitting the blip switch.
Interesting.
But if you go into a turn and hit the blip, and like I'll hold it down and just turn and just basically turn into a glider for a few seconds.
Okay.
It will reduce the amount of spins you get into by like 85%. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
right. Well, then I'm going to buy that key right now.
Yeah. But no, I agree. IL-2 is a fantastic
for more
game.
IL-2 tips from Casmo.
I think I'm going to start a solo campaign and just do it for content because I miss it. Like I like doing it. Let's do a solo campaign together.
Oh my god!
Wait. Are we best
Did we just become best friends?
We finish each other's.
Yeah. But no, IL-2, like I prefer, in my opinion, I prefer IL-2 World War II than I do over DCS. Even though the cockpits aren't clickable, there's just so many more effects. The flight models feel better. And
I don't need them to be clickable to have a good time.
Yeah, and just the damage. Like, there's not much to click. I mean, there's some stuff to click, but there's not, like, a lot of things to click on a World War II airplane.
Right. So, and I will say this, the one thing that I don't like their mission editor though, and that's why DCS will pull. Like if I am doing multiplayer stuff, 100% DCS is easier to manage. But from just a solo, I just want to go fly World War II, IL-2.
Yeah, I think just talking World War II specifically, I think IL-2 is the way to go. And I like the way that DCS went with the new damage models, but I still prefer like the IL-2. Like when you shoot somebody and they catch on fire, it's like, wow, like that looks cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or a piece will come off the plane and hit you, like because you get too close and you just took a flap to the face.
Like their landing gear, bounces right off you. And I smack it out of here. Get out of here, Goodyear.
Dudes jumping out of the plane and zipping right past you and stuff. Yeah. No, I love it. Flying, and well, you don't VR at all, right?
No, but I heard VR in IL-2 is phenomenal.
It's because it's older game and so it's not as pretty, but you know, depending on what you think pretty is, I still think IL-2 looks beautiful, but in VR, phenomenal performance. And I will tell you, like Flying Circus, I have held my hand up to block the sun because that's how it felt. That's how immersed I felt. So no, I would like to explore IL-2 more on the show. I think we should because exactly, it is another flight.
I think we need to. There's a multiplayer server called Combat Box, and that's what I was playing on. And I met like several new people that I just met recently when I was streaming. And then now we're like writing each other, and we grew up like in the same area. So like you just meet. I mean, it's just the way things go when you're flight simming. Yeah, I mean you just meet new people and
it's bringing people together.
Yeah,
no, that's good. No, we'll have to. We need to play IL-2 together. I always have a good time when I fly it because I don't take it. I think in DCS you are compelled to take it a little bit more serious just because it is a little bit more study level. Well, it is a lot more study level just because the virtue of you're flying with things with automatic stuff and screens and all kinds of stuff to do versus just jump in the airplane, turn the switch. Maybe there's a few gauges you got to mess with, and then you're just flying and you're fighting. So. I encourage people to explore that, and Flying Circus I think is a lot of fun. So, well, cool. Well, anything that we didn't talk about that we should? I know the Cowboys are starting soon, so
I got 10 minutes, man. I got 10 minutes.
He's got 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
10 minutes here before the football game starts.
That's it. BD, you got anything?
I need to go and pack for New York.
Enjoy your flight, man. Is it a direct
I'm
flight?
always enjoying. I'm always enjoying my flights. Nobody calls me. I can watch videos. It's great.
So what kind of videos do you watch or do you read?
So now I've subscribed to Disney Plus, and I have to catch up on all the Star Wars stuff.
Oh, I was about to say, are you watching like Aladdin?
I don't
know about you. I don't know about you, Casmo, but sometimes like if I'm in the bag deadheading and you download like a movie. And then you start watching the movie and you didn't know there was like a nudity scene or like, like there's like a lot of violence and you're like sitting there and like people are next to you and you're in uniform. And like all of a sudden like a female genitalia pops out and you're like, whoa. Like I got
What's always made me laugh though is like, cause I'll fly on American and Delta most times for deadheading. And so I'll watch the movies that they provide.
Oh, that's
true.
Yeah.
Even then, it'll be a movie. I'm like, I know there's a full up nude scene, or I know that somebody's gonna get their head shot, and like exactly. And I start thinking about that. I'm like, who's around me? But
I mean, some people aren't really self conscious or self aware in public. But
no.
But like when I'm there and I'm like, man, there's a sex scene or a nude scene going on, and like I'm like, I better watch out.
Well, too, on this job, like, I spend a lot of time in a hotel now, and so I kind of go back and watch shows. Like, I watched all of Game of Thrones again, and now I'm going through The Sopranos again. Same thing, like, I can't, like, do it on the plane because I 100% know Tony's going to be, jamming it up with some girl in this one scene. So, no, that's a good point. Yeah, you got to watch Aladdin. Disney Plus, you've chosen the right direction. Good.
No,
this
Star Wars.
Saracen Podcast is brought to you by Disney Plus.
Yeah. Proud sponsor. Well, that's good. Yeah. Well, we hope you
enjoy your flight. Yeah. Oh, we're still finishing each other's sentences, man. We gotta get that IL-2 going, man.
Yeah. Well,
match made in heaven.
We're in the business of making sure people are enjoying their flight.
Mm-hmm.
Flight attendants prepare for departure. Rob, what about you? You got anything? You got any big plans coming up?
Oh, so many. But no, I don't. Not really. At some point, I am curious. We should talk about jamming in the F-14 update. So, well, we didn't cover it.
Maybe we can get Mooch back on.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. Yeah, he said he was up for it when I shot him a note the other day. So, yeah, pull him in.
Okay. Right on. Well, we'll get together obviously in the next couple weeks to do episode 36 because I believe this is 35, and it is right now the 30th of October. So tomorrow's Halloween. This obviously won't make it in time for Halloween, but hopefully everyone had a good Halloween if you celebrate such debauchery. And then here in the States we have Thanksgiving coming up. This will definitely be out before Thanksgiving, and then. Yeah, I'll be working for Thanksgiving. I don't know about you, Tricker, but
Same.
I'm on the schedule. Yeah.
I get home Thanksgiving.
Oh, do you? I'm like halfway through a trip on that one, so wife is super happy about it. But yeah, but we'll get together again before that, and then right now I'm going to do another charity event. I haven't done one in like 2 years just because last year I was out of town. But now that I have my schedule, our company's changed, so now we're actually doing our schedule like 3 months out.
Oh,
so I actually know, so I'm looking forward to being able to plan my life a little bit. But we're going to do a big event. I'll talk to you guys about it. In fact, BD, I know I've already talked to you about some stuff there. But looking for early part of December, do an event in memory of a good friend of mine that died in a midair, and his wife started this sort of annual charity event when it happened. It happened in December. So more to follow on that as I still develop it. But appreciate you guys coming here today, and I'm glad that we could get our times synced, which is always a challenge. And we'll look forward to doing it again here in a few weeks, and hope everyone enjoyed the episode. And, of course, leave comments and likes and subscribes and whatever.
Yeah, make sure you join the Discord and join the discussions if you want anything discussed on the podcast.
Alrighty. Well, thanks, guys. We will talk to you all later.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you.
This has been the Air Combat Sim Podcast, a BBR production. Music by Vampire Stepdad. Want to support the show? Check out our Patreon, follow us on Facebook, and be sure to leave a comment and rating.